Kia ora koutou. I'm here for a brief moment to realign the margins, to bring an overlooked aspect of our national identity into the focus. A first-hand Asian perspective and Asian design and visual culture in New Zealand. This isn't the first time I've spoken on the topic, and whenever I do, there's a whole host of issues that arise. Firstly, this is not a neat discussion. The concept of national identity, let alone national design identity, is fraught. I can't personally connect with the term Asian, even though it's commonly used in New Zealand, having a local diasporic Cantonese Chinese perspective, a very long description obscured with such a label. My understanding of my heritage is built both on Eastern and Western imaginings and stereotypes of it. My central proposition of what might Asian New Zealand art and design look like is problematic. They don't teach this in school, so we need to work this out on the ground. And strikes a nerve with my elders who were taught to keep one's head down, keep quiet, work hard and assimilate into the mainstream. We were largely excluded from conversations of nation building within the colonial constructs in New Zealand, so this proposition is bold and unresolved in 2015. Positive visibility and inspiration has been largely absent within our cultural history. So an open-minded mind is required in understanding the pluralism and diversity of Asianness in New Zealand art and design, something that I started in 2007 with my work Homemade, picturing Chinese settlement in New Zealand. I can only offer signposts rather than solutions through showing examples of my work, this presentation, collective works and contemporary opinions from my peers. So thinking about alternative histories involving personal experiences and community histories, and through my discipline of interdisciplinarity of illustration and graphic art, what Chinese New Zealand visual communication could look like, an attempt at this, meanwhile asking what the it could be. And it sort of moves with you, you can't shake it off. The following year, after I completed Homemade, I went to New York on a Fulbright scholarship to connect with the Chinese American artists, gallerists and curators, and gathered some valuable feedback and critique on my inquiries. Encountering an Asian American art scene that had been challenging identity politics robustly for at least 40 years, I was inspired by independent practitioners benefiting from drawing upon shared experiences, common interests and close collaborations. Artists and designers and creators were pushing back against the categorization of identity politics. The term Asian American art was labelled upon artists' work irrespective of background history and the artistic intentions or the world of the works. So we can use a sort of spectrum to peg ourselves in terms of how overtly or covertly we use these terms. And my experiences in New York found that I was using cultural visual material in a way that sort of interrogated surfaces and backgrounds through things like these paper cuts, large-scale paper cuts. I met Alexandra Chan at NYU, who was prolific with her research on diasporic Asian American art, and she uses the term communities of affinity to refer to the collectivization of individuals constantly in flux, layered and moving across other communities of affinity. And I think this is a really nice term to bring up in the sense of understanding the value of sort of clustering and labels, and how there needs to be a sense of independence, yet we do cluster around commonality or influence that is useful in us moving forward together and interrogating this terrain. So we got together, there was Kim Lowe, Simon Khan, down the bottom, and Alan Shah, and myself, Catherine Sui, and we ended up having this hui, I think, a few years ago, an informal gathering of artists and designers or backgrounds who identified or felt like they wanted to respond to these issues of what it is to be a Chinese New Zealand artist. evolved into this very loose association called Archer, Aotearoa Chinese Artists. Have had 3 shows through in Auckland, Wellington, and also most recently the Impact International Printmaking Conference in Hangzhou. And as a group of extremely diverse practitioners, we link through shared narratives and stories. So Simon is based in Dunedin at the School of Fine Art, and Kim is in Christchurch through CPIT. So looking at old forms through print media, printmaking, and its vitality in the 21st century. 3 very diverse artists, designers who work with print. My contributions with my own stories and narratives. Where are you from? Where are you local to? I'm from Wellington. And this work that was produced and exhibited at Enjoy Gallery and Kātaka Museum took inspiration from the demolition of my parents' former cafe takeaway business from the early 80s in Upper Willis Street. So these works, I think, sort of try and occupy space, text and material to tell stories, to reimagine what this might look like. And the question that comes up is who names and who fringes, how do we end up in these positions, I think, and there's sort of a larger story at hand that comes up with post-colonial positioning and storytelling with Chinese in New Zealand. My own work, I use collage and digital media a lot in terms of as an ordering device, offering multi-point perspectives. And a current project that's on this week that I'm involved with is the Pararoa People's Library. So my background in terms of DIY publishing and media looks to extend to communities of interest to create spaces for others to occupy alongside peer-to-peer, on the ground and in person. So one aspect of this conversation, it becomes a lot larger than myself. So I put together a Vox Pop questionnaire around some of these questions, because I mentioned the one question leads on to a whole myriad of questions around what it is to be working in New Zealand as a Chinese New Zealand artist, designer, creative. And I think we constantly get asked a lot of questions, I think. I constantly get asked where I'm from, what my stakeholders within design, within education, within the arts. And I figured this would be interesting to share with you in terms of a close conversation I've had with some of my peers around these topics. So I asked Lindsay Yee, who is a designer educator based up in Auckland, questions like what were some of his early influences. So he was really interested in street art like Barry McGee, Margaret Cargallon and Steve Powers, plus New Zealand influences like Robert Kirkland Harding, Joseph Churchwood and Simon Collin. And growing up, he also had a lot of strong Asian influences, learning traditional calligraphy and rice paper painting at the Riwi Alley School in Christchurch. So he was also quite heavily involved with his community, learning Cantonese and being involved directly on the ground. So a really diverse kind of snapshot of his experiences. He regards the graphic design community in New Zealand has a strong sense of inclusivity. Chinese New Zealanders are considered model immigrants by conditioning, he says. The stereotype of being hardworking, agreeable and accepting of hierarchy often works as an advantage, but it has come about over generations of racism. What would you like to see happen in New Zealand, art and design school-wise and creative industries? Lindsay's response was more engagement in learning from a higher education standpoint, and teaching students to question, often thinking and regarding. Alan Xia is an artist, designer, creative entrepreneur and director of the Chromacon Festival in Auckland. He said that he initially met a lot of strong resistance from his very traditional Chinese family and had to work very hard to prove that he wasn't, quote, throwing his future away. I think that sounds familiar to a lot of people. He said that a lot of people identify a sort of Asian quality to his work, and he said a few personal works that would be a bit macabre. The Chinese relatives and friends said that they probably wouldn't hang it in their homes. I think he got really excited to talk about cultural inclusivity and issues of tokenism in New Zealand. Many New Zealanders are interested in working in China, building a Chinese audience for their product. However, he hasn't seen Chinese New Zealanders with the right skill sets given opportunities they deserve, which parties could benefit from. He says that Chinese New Zealanders have really valuable insights into people, culture, industries and processes that could help Kiwi organisations and businesses flourish. Due to inclusivity or possibly a matter of habit, the thought of giving Chinese New Zealanders such roles of leadership haven't been so visible in conversations. As such, there's disparity and a bit of separation he sees within the Asian communities. So, Ant sang. He says his family, a similar issue with Alan. I think he responded that his parents wished he had pursued a more stable career, but he could see that art was the only thing that he was interested in and wanted to respond to. So Ant has been busy with his illustration and graphic novel work, and he's been shifting into film and animation. He has got an upcoming project called Notes to Eternity, where he animates segments, a feature on the Middle East with Noam Chomsky and Robert Fisk, etc. So that's one to watch out for. He says stereotyping can be challenging. But by continuing to tell the stories of Asians, the more these stories are told, the more that Asians will be seen as people as opposed to othered. It's difficult to encapsulate what design DNA might be, he says, as we're increasingly becoming more global. It's hard to pinpoint things which make our industries New Zealand based. And I thought this, he did a project in Auckland, sort of graphic poster project, which was quite lovely, sort of getting voice and visibility out there. Oops, sorry, going backwards. So, sort of still kind of poking and prodding at this concept of an Asian style in design and visual culture in New Zealand. Consider these words describing it as being diverse, porous, and also performed on the ground. And maybe there are still channels and outlets that need to be found for this. Rather than attempting to label and define, look towards independent and collective narratives responding overtly or covertly to this position. One of the questions I asked was, what are some emerging Asian New Zealand artists, designers, writers, performers, media makers currently floating one's boat? And there are a few consensus as far as what's on the internet, really. That was probably pointing us to what's on the ground. So from the gallery to online. Lee Chen in Auckland has a great sort of very prolific practice through her comics and illustration works. And Alan, I think, needs to be recognised for Chromacon, having produced it for a few consecutive years now. I think he said that they had about 100 creatives and 4,500 plus through the door this year. And that idea of creating a space for people to come in and engage is the issues of Asianness is very covert in this stage. But it is part of his directive there. He gets international artists and Chinese artists that he knows to come over to. And Flat 3 has become really popular. Helena and Roseanne Liang and co. Taking sort of slice of life and to occupying that space through sort of comedy, which is a really bold thing to be doing. I think I like this idea of outward looking and engaging through different platforms. So and also this is Kirsten King's Kiwis, a very brilliant, very sharp writer, social commentator, who's offering some good insights into capturing that. So finally, this is a proposition, not a definitive declaration, a starting point involving clusters of perspectives to review what's here and happening in the current moment, to challenge and contribute to the visual media and designscape on the ground in New Zealand. Thank you.